about Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the Plan Commission on Monday, May 13th at 6:30 p.m. in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom and also can be accessed via WebEx. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all members present except for Mr. Lord and Mr. Williams. We do welcome one of our newer members to the Plan Commission, Bridget Henk. Welcome to the first meeting here. Appreciate your service.
Excuse me, Dean. I forgot to mention that Bob Williams did send a message today and asked to be excused.
Okay. So Bob will be then excused. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from the April 8th, 2024 Plan Commission meeting and the April 22nd, 2024 Plan Commission meeting.
Make a motion to approve both minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. That then takes us to new business, starting with new business. Item A, Bryan Building Corp., agent for Green Bay Packaging, Inc., property owner located at North 128, West 21600, Holy Hill Road, for a conditional use permit to allow encroachment into a 25-foot wetland setback on tonight's agenda for a public hearing and action. To give us more information background on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzlaff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we are all aware, discussions concerning Green Bay Packaging and their plan to consolidate their operations within Germantown to a new location began back in April of last year. And since then, a lot of progress has been made. Green Bay Packaging, as you know, the Great Lakes Division here in Germantown, has been operating for over 50 years. It's a light manufacturing operation of corrugated containers. And again, they're consolidating their operation from 4 separate buildings, totaling about 160,000 square feet on Carnegie Drive to their new facility out on Holy Hill Road. In November of last year, the 2050 plan was revised to reclassify the 53-acre property from mixed-use commercial and high-density residential to light industrial and warehouse. Along with that was a rezoning from the A1 agricultural to the M1 limited industrial zoning district. In April of this year, site development and building plans were conditionally approved for a new 270,000 square foot manufacturing and 12,500 square foot office complex. This graphic shows the approved site plan, and I've circled the area that's the focus of tonight's conditional use permit application. The new access driveway that will serve the site necessitates reconstruction of the Holy Hill Road intersection and the 48th Street intersection. 48th Street, if you did not know, is the small dead-end street that serves the gasoline convenience station in the northeast quadrant of the I-41 and Holy Hill Road interchange. Where 48th Street came from, the name, there's not much information about that. So that may change as part of this overall process, but that remains to be seen. Reconstruction will require filling approximately 10,000 square feet of wetland with an additional 13,470 square feet of grading and filling to be conducted within the village's 25-foot wetland setback area outside of the remaining wetland. The village code does allow encroachment into the 25-foot wetland setback with a conditional use permit, provided there's compensation in the form of enhanced wetland protection provided to the existing or remaining wetlands on the property. This graphic shows generally the intersection area that we're talking about. It's a rendering of the proposed building, looking from the southeast to the northwest across the site. with the intersection at Holy Hill Road in the foreground. You don't get a real strong sense of the realignment, but as you can see, the darker pavement, if you will, for the driveway and 48th Street represents a new construction for those two roadways. Wetlands that were identified on the property are shown on the screen on the left. I believe there's a total of 6 wetlands that were identified across the entire property. In this case, wetland number 4 in the southeast corner, right at that reconstructed intersection area, is affected, and that overall wetland, as it's delineated, is shown on the right hand of the screen. This graphic shows the detail of the 48th Street intersection design, how it's being moved effectively to be further north of the Holy Hill Road intersection to provide for turning movements and separate lanes serving both the southbound traffic to Holy Hill as well as the inbound traffic to the gasoline station. As I mentioned, 13,470 square feet of grading and filling is proposed within the village's 25-foot wetland setback area. Because of the height of the disturbance, it's more than 3 feet. The code requires a 2-to-1 ratio for compensation. So a minimum of 27,140 square feet is proposed by the developer. As shown here, the proposal is to install 28,580 square feet of compensation of native plantings and meadow seeding that is consistent with the native vegetation and will be planted in a manner that should be conducive to further protection and possibly some further recreation, if you will, of the wetland area east of the intersection as shown on this graphic in the area that's sort of highlighted in sort of a brownish orangish color. So the compensation will be provided in the areas that are highlighted in purple on this graphic, effectively the steeper slopes along the relocated, reconstructed roadways at the intersection or north of the intersection, and also the area east of the remaining wetland shown in that orange color. With that, the staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit to allow an encroachment into a 25-foot wetland setback associated with reconstruction of the Holy Hill Road driveway for the proposed 270,000 square foot light manufacturing and office facility for Green Bay Packaging, and accept the proposed compensation plan as presented in the CUP application narrative dated March 18th, 2024. Now, I should say we did receive a revised copy of the narrative. I left a copy on his desk. The revised date, I believe, is today's date. So that should be inserted in there. And I'd also point out that the revisions that were provided address one of the 4 staff recommended conditions, condition number 2. So when we get around to that, we may want to eliminate condition number 2, given that they've addressed that in the revised narrative. With that, this is a public hearing item. And we can open the public hearing and take comment.
Okay. Then I'll hereby open this public hearing by stating a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown and also virtually through WebEx on Monday, May 13th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following application for a conditional use permit to allow grading and filling into portions of a 25-foot wetland setback pursuant to section 24.04, subsection 3, subparagraph C, subparagraph 1 of the Village Zoning Code on the following property. The applicant is Bryan Building Corporation, which is the agent for Green Bay Packaging, Great Lakes Division, and the property owners are AHST 355 LLC, and they are listed as the property owners, and the address is approximately 52.72 acres north of Holy Hill Road, east of Highway 41, south of Rockfield Road. And that is the description of tonight's public hearing. If there is anyone in our audience that would like to come forward to speak for or against the conditional use permit, you're welcome to do it at this time. If you're in our audience, please come to the podium, state your name and your address for the record. If you're joining us via WebEx, just please make your wishes known so that we can recognize you and hear your comments. Is there anyone wishing to come forward at this time to speak for or against the conditional use permit for to fill in portions of the 25-foot wetland setback? Mhm.
Good evening. Scott Heffley, W159 N10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. I just had a question that was brought up when this was brought forth before. Did we handle that sharp turn for the gas trucks? I know that was brought up, and I believe the gentleman's attorney was here, and so was the gentleman that owns the property. And he said the last time there was work done in that area, it pretty much bankrupted him because he couldn't get his gas trucks in or something to that effect. Maybe bankrupt's a bad word, but it still looks like a sharp turn to me. I'm not a developer. Perhaps Mr. Retzloff or Mr. Baum can help with that. But that's my only question. I've supported this project from the very beginning. I think it's a great idea to look nice, but that's my only question. Thank you.
Yes, the intersection has been slightly redesigned to accommodate the turning movement issue, and I believe that has been addressed with this design that's on the screen.
If you scroll back a few slides, it's shown on the new drawing there. The red lines you see on the far left side, there's something that looks like a truck. If you follow the red lines back, they show that the truck can make all the turns. There's a truck at the bottom on Holy Hill Road. That's a starting point. You follow all the red lines through, that shows the drag of the trailer and the cab position. Make sure that a truck can get into that site.
Okay,
All that?
so the answer is yes. The road has been redesigned to accommodate trucks, whether it be going into the site for Green Bay packaging or to deliver goods to the gas station.
We do have the engineer representing Bryan Construction here in case there's a question. Did we answer it sufficiently?
Okay, very good. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward for this public hearing to speak for or against the conditional use permit to allow grading and filling into portions of the 25-foot wetland setback? Anyone else wishing to come forward to speak for or against? One more time, is there anyone that wishes to come forward to speak at the public hearing for or against the conditional use permit to allow grading and filling into portions of the 25-foot wetland setback? No one else? This public hearing can now be closed. That then takes us to the action portion of new business item A.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented with the 4 conditions. We'll start with the 4 as presented.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Trustee Baum,
I will make an amendment to the motion to remove item number 2,
Yes,
condition number 2.
condition number 2.
motion made to amend to remove condition item number 2. Do we have a second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? The amended motion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Back to the motion as amended. Any further discussion?
Well, the only point I had to make was already made by the speaker. I was concerned that we did adjust for the truck traffic into the gas station, so
Okay.
I see nothing else that I want to comment on.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming. Next item under new business is item B, Jim Toller, agent for Berean Bible Society, property owner located at North 112, West 17761, Mequon Road, for a two-lot certified survey map on tonight's agenda for action. Give us more information on this new business item. Once again, we'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The site is shown on the screen. The zoning is the B1 neighborhood business. And it is located in the village's Lannon-Mequon Road corridor. As shown on the screen, the blue area. And so there's a variety of uses that are acceptable, including commercial retail, residential, and so on. The site is being proposed for division to effectively get rid of, if that's the best way to describe it, the back part of the property that's undeveloped, shown on the CSM, that the Berean Bible Society feels they do not need as part of their operation, and they're proposing a land division as shown. Most of you will recall back in December of last year, we had a similar land division proposed by the Aurora property just immediately south of here with a similar intent to divide off some undeveloped property for future development purposes. In this case, both properties would be served by Grace Way. That's currently a private driveway that, get back to the aerial, I think you can see in this aerial, the driveway extends from Mequon Road south about 2/3 the length of the property, and covers a portion of the frontage of proposed Lot 2, so that development could possibly be served by the existing private driveway, but that driveway is located within a 60-foot wide road reservation that was reserved many, many years ago. The history behind it is a little sketchy, but there's 60 feet of road reservation that the village can accept for public road purposes. And given the nature of this CSM, staff is recommending that the 20 feet of that road reservation that lies on the Berean Bible Society property be dedicated as part of this CSM to hasten that process of accepting eventually 60 feet of right-of-way along the entire length of the property. As I mentioned, there's no specific development proposal that the Berean Bible Society has proposed. So the staff recommendation, frankly, is simply to approve the two-lot CSM as proposed, subject to 4 conditions.
Make a motion to approve the certified survey map with the 4 conditions as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Next item under new business is item C. Michael H. and Bernadette A. Furlong, property owners, and Furlong Industrial Systems located at West 194, North 11221 McCormick Drive, a zoning permit for exterior building renovations on tonight's agenda for action. Director Retzloff.
Yes, Bernadette Furlong, property owner, submitted a zoning permit application for exterior renovations to the 4,000 plus square foot office building located in the industrial park as shown on the screen. In the course of discussing those proposed renovations to the exterior, it was decided to move the application from a staff level zoning permit review to a plan commission review, given the nature of the change of the exterior as proposed. And let me skip ahead. What is proposed includes exterior building improvements, painting the building, current building, as you can see here, painting the entire building a color of white, including the blue banding. So the blue banding would be removed and the split face concrete block would be painted all the same color. The existing blue canvas and frame canopy would be removed and replaced with a metal roof with cable supports. I'm going to jump ahead to some inspirational renderings that were included in the application. As you can see on the left, this particular building is essentially going to be very much like what the Furlong building is proposed to look like with the white, the new, more contemporary canopy. The address coordinates won't be on the top of the building like that, but the barn type sconce lighting on either side of the entryway is proposed, and the top metal banding, coping, I forget what the terminology is, will be painted black as a complementary color. And also, as part of the final improvements to the exterior, there'll be some new landscaping that'll be installed around the foundation of the building on the north, the east, and the south elevations. But there's a graphic again of the existing building, and you can imagine with the inspiration drawings what this is proposed to look like. Is Ms. Furlong here? Do you want to add to that at all? Or just respond to questions? Okay.
Okay. One side. Commissioners,
I will make a motion to approve with the two conditions for discussion.
motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion to approve. Trustee Baum.
So my concern is it is such a simplistic concept that the details are very critical. It's a white building with a black coping. If that's all you're actually going to do to the building, it's going to look very blasé. What this image does is it brings the planters in and it brings a specific lighting scheme in and it brings a canopy in and the numbers actually do something to it. When I went through the proposal is very diagrammatic and not specific as to what we're getting. And that's where I'm concerned about what is the actual final intent. Just painting the building white with a black top, that's, to me, that's an understatement. If we're getting something more significant, more dynamic, I could be in favor of it. So I'm stuck with not having enough information. Do you follow me, Jeff?
Yeah, but in the plan set that was included, including this photo with the notes that are on there, does that not help explain? not only
It starts, but the reference images has these black planters below every window. Those black planters do something to the project. I don't understand what type of canopy is going above that entrance. Is it exactly the same as what was there, except it's black?
If you could come to the microphone, I would greatly appreciate it. There are some people that watch from home and would like to hear your comments as well.
Right now is what we're going to put up there.
So you're having a flat blade
Yeah.
canopy with a couple of tiebacks to it.
It's going to be metal and it's going to have that look. And then the lights on the side, on both sides is what we're going to be seeing.
And what happens with, can you go back to the other image? What happens with that blue stair step in the center there underneath the light that's being removed? Is that covered up? Is that changed to white? Is that something else? What happens?
it looks like it's framed
The window,
window glass, right?
That's the window. That's the
So
picture.
that blue stuff,
That's not blue.
that's like, yeah, that stuff.
it's a window.
Window.
Okay, where does the canopy go?
The canopy is going to be right below the. It's going to come right.
Process.
Okay, so the canopy is across the front of the glass.
And then they have new landscaping that's proposed. As you can see, the beds there are
Yeah.
somewhat bare.
They started I don't know if you've been by the.
Oh, I've driven by it because I kept wondering what the outbuilding was for.
Oh,
You got the,
the whole thing is under construction.
Yeah, they're renovating the interiors.
Yeah.
Interior's totally gutted.
so, yeah.
If we move to that trailer, basically, there's 11 people working in there. That's done and move back in.
So you better know your neighbor.
Yeah. So the remodeling is being done inside and then we're doing the outside and the landscaping is going to be all put back with all new landscaping.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Turn back to that other view then, while you're there. That one. So where the 2855 is, would be that window.
Right.
Would it remain blue?
It's not, it's just a reflection.
That's what you meant. It's a reflection.
It's just a
Right, I'm
reflection.
with you.
Yeah.
So it could be orange or purple or whatever. All right, I'm with you.
So on this graphic, you're indicating that the barn sconce lighting will be, there'll be two on each side of the door, the entryways, but not one in between all the windows like in this
Correct.
rendering.
It's not that big of a
So,
building.
well, we're showing these two here. Our electrician said that that would work there, so that's why we decided to put it there. And then it's lighting, a lot of times our employees are there. They need to make sure that they're, they're safe.
And when you put it there, the spread of the light.
Right.
Okay. Further discussion, a motion to approve. No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it very much. Next item is new business, item D, Carly Patzvelberger, property owner located at North 97, West 15805, Burr Oak Road, a zoning permit to allow a fence in a utility in easement, and that's on tonight's agenda for action. To give us more information background on this new business item, once again, we'll turn the meeting over to Director Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Patzelberger property is on Burr Oak Road as shown on the screen. There is a fence on the west side of the property already and along the rear property line. The proposal is to add an additional segment of fence along the east property line that would tie back into the rear fencing and cross the 10-foot utility easement that lies across the back length of the property. The proposal is to install a 6-foot high wood privacy fence, and a small portion of it, 10 feet long, would encroach into that easement area in the southeast corner. We've handled a lot of these lately. In fact, we're probably worth taking a closer look at the code and making some adjustments to making this more of a staff level thing. Because more typically, it's either a utility easement and We Energies gives permission, or it's a drainage easement. And we address that with conditions, and now we're recording those to ensure that the property owner is aware of their need to rebuild the fence if necessary. In this case, it's a utility easement. There's no homeowners association, but We Energies has indicated their approval, conditional approval, and a copy of the letter that's included in the packet. And so there's no infrastructure for stormwater management. And the staff recommendation is to approve as proposed, subject to 2 conditions.
Commissioners,
I'll make a motion to approve as presented with the 2 conditions.
motion made and seconded. Question, just so I heard it right. So it's already a fence on the south and the west side, and they're adding one to the east side?
Yes.
They're adding just the gap.
Well, they got a permit for the fence. They started installation, and then the issue of the easement, the utility easement came up. So
So it is an existing but new fence that they,
yes, there's a small gap, a 10-foot wide gap that
So
remains.
yeah, the thing that we're talking about is just that short section, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And it all connects up to isn't there a fence at 15777 as well?
I believe there is, yes. But
Okay.
I do not know if it's going to tie right into that. More than likely it will.
Are there any representatives here tonight?
No, Ms. Patzelberger indicated that she's in Italy right now and was hoping that staff could answer any questions. If not, we can table action until next month.
No,
You've made them aware that anybody can tear this fence down at any time and it's their responsibility.
Yes, and that is one of the requirements from We Energies in their conditional approval.
My general comment to whoever, so if they're already aware of it,
Okay.
I'm fine.
okay. Further discussion on a motion to approve? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is item E, Village of Germantown Community Development Department proposed text amendments to Chapter 17 of the Village of Germantown Municipal Code, 17.07 temporary uses, 17.08 definitions, 17.33 M1 limited industrial district, and 17.41 accessory uses, buildings, and structure. On tonight's agenda for action, Director Retzloff.
Yes, we have four specific amendments. Amendment number 1, section 17.07, sub 2A. It's the section dealing with temporary use permits. This language that's shown in the ordinance, included in your packet this time, I apologize for not doing that last month, adds language to clarify that more than one temporary use permit may be granted in succession for a particular use or activity. Temporary use permits are granted at a staff level after review by our development review department staff, and are allowed to be issued up to a maximum of 6 months. On occasion, we've had, and I detailed this in the staff report, uses or property owners that have intentions to replace the temporary use with a permanent use, but by virtue of timing or other issues, needed additional time. And so we have granted a second, in one case, we granted a third temporary use permit to allow the property owner some flexibility to deal with and hopefully come through on the permanent fix. For example, we had a Goodwill trailer, the old trailer style of drop-off center in the Sendex parking lot for a while. We told them that needed a temporary use permit, and they contemplated and eventually did open up a permanent space in the tenant in the strip center. But we had issued, I think, 2 conditional use permits for that. The golf course off of County Line Road behind what is now Buffalo Wild Wings. That property owner had some issues getting the rest of the improvements that were originally proposed completed, and eventually did not complete the new clubhouse for the golf course. And subsequently, that property has been sold and is now part of the hotel property that lies just east of the parking lot. So the intention is to make it clear that multiple permits can be issued if warranted. There's been some discussion with regard to a current situation that somehow staff issuing a second permit was somehow showing favoritism or was unnecessary or some sort of impropriety. And so I just want to make it clear that we have done this and we can do this as part of the code. And so I'm asking for Plan Commission and Board permission to include that language in the zoning code. The second amendment concerns 17.08, the definition section. We're creating 2 new definitions, and we're adding a cross-reference to a third. The 2 definitions that we're creating are for 2 new uses: horticultural services, and the second use, snow removal services. These uses that have proliferated in the last 5 years within the village, and there are all sorts of different operations. Everybody has a different niche in what they do, what they provide, and currently those two uses are only allowed in the A2, the B1 and the B2 business districts, and there's no current definition. So I'm proposing to create definitions for both of those and add those to the definition section, and under Amendment 3, we'll address how we're going to deal with those. And the third definition is simply adding a cross-reference to the term temporary storage structure. Right now, it's defined in the body of the code in 17.41, and I want to add a cross-reference into the definition section. So it's a housekeeping measure, frankly, for all intents and purposes. Amendment number 3 adds horticultural services and snow removal services to the list of conditional uses that may be allowed in the M1 Limited Industrial District, again, with a conditional use permit. As I indicated, the number of new businesses providing these services either separately or in a lot of cases, one business provides both, given their vehicles and staffing and an opportunity to keep the business going year round. The current zoning code does not adequately provide for either use, except that the term horticultural services is listed as a conditional use in the A2, B1, and B2 business districts. Again, Amendment 2 creates a definition, and Amendment 3 expands the districts within which this use could be allowed, including the M1 Limited Industrial District. And finally, Amendment number 4 to Section 17.41 clarifies the number and type of temporary storage structures that can be installed in place on both residential and agricultural property. The justification for this, currently there's a 3-tiered system of permitting for temporary storage structures, up to 30 days, 30 days to 90 days, 90 days to 180 days. It's too complicated. We put it in the code probably 8 or 9 years ago in an attempt to try and address the whole issue of temporary storage structures that really had no solid regulation at the time. I think we went over the top. And so I want to roll that back a little bit to create a process that simply allows temporary storage structures on property up to 180 days, and also creates an opportunity to include them on a property for more than 180 days with a temporary use permit. So you could get another 6 months, depending upon what it's proposed or used for. If it's intended to be a large pod, if you will, while a house or a building's being remodeled and they have to move the stuff outside, that may go longer than 6 months. Part of this is an attempt to try and address the commercial marketing, the promotion, and the easy availability of shipping containers. They're popping up all over the place, and they've created some issues. We've got one code violation that's going to the circuit court or the municipal court this month concerning one of those. The intention here is to try and clean that up a little bit and get out ahead of that in the sense of establishing the terms under which those can be allowed on properties. I think one day soon we'll probably come back and address more head-on the use of shipping containers for tiny houses and other sorts of structures that people seem to like to use them for, and frankly can be very creative with them. But we'll need to deal with that, I think, separately. So those are the 4 amendments that are proposed. A copy of the draft ordinance was included in your packet with the strikeout and underlying language. Obviously, the staff recommendation is to approve as drafted. And I'm more than willing to field any questions and discuss before we go any further.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendments as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. No discussion? Questions?
Would this, so pertaining to the salt storage structures on the store parking lots, that's allowing you or giving you the ability, like they'd have to come and get a permit to do that, or it is allowed if they have if they,
Right now, this doesn't provide for those types of uses in the commercial business, in the business districts.
so you can't have a salt bin at the grocery store.
Yes. You know, we dealt with that earlier in the year. We had somebody pop one up. We've had one in the past that they eventually removed after being prodded to do so. And the second one earlier this year, a similar situation. Part of this, I think it is going to be hopefully addressed with the allowance for the snow removal services in the limited industrial district. Right now, we have a couple of property owners or prospective property owners who are looking to locate in the village, specifically in the industrial park. And they have these sorts of uses. And right now, I'm telling them the property they're looking at, it's not a permitted use. With a conditional use permit and these code changes, it's possible that they could locate in the industrial park. But that remains to be seen.
That's M1 zoning?
Yes.
Is it strictly where all of their business would be in that type of, whether it be agricultural or horticultural, or what if they only have a portion of it? Does it matter?
It wouldn't matter. It would be still subject to the conditional use, and through that, we can identify what specific portion of the property would be suitable or be able to be used for that sort of use.
Okay.
Right now, we have three large, quote unquote, horticultural type businesses in the village. There's DJ Frank, Wendland Nursery, and TLC out on Appleton Avenue. And those are vested under the terms of the zoning code, given they all have permits to do what they're doing. This process, these code amendments put a little bit further refinement on the definition and also expand the area within which they could be allowed. Now, one question you might ask is, well, if we're going to allow it in the industrial area, is it still appropriate to allow it in the B1 and the B2 neighborhood business districts? Maybe we need to take it out of those.
Okay. And then the temporary structures, those large, I call them hoop temporary storage that you see, are we looking to limit the amount that can be put on in an A1 or A2?
No, the intention there is to provide for, and the language provides for an exception for those structures that are being exclusively used for agricultural purposes. I mean, we do have a lot of property in the village that's zoned agricultural, more specifically the A2, the smaller 10-acre property in the A2 district that's used more for residential purposes than it is for agricultural purposes. And this is an attempt to try and address those situations as well.
Some of those get close to residential, and they will put several of those types of structures up for temporary storage, whether it be trailers or snowmobile or ATVs. But you have in some areas of the village, you can see 2 or 3 of those types of structures up. Is that helping to limit that or just better police it?
The intention is to allow for better policing. I mean, historically, the village has tried to encourage property owners to build permanent structures for accessory uses and their toys and machinery and the like. Today, given the cost, given the commercial marketing and the availability, I mean, you can pick up a shipping container for $500-600 and have it delivered and popped on your property overnight. And given some of the people I've talked to have had that done, they don't even think about the issue of whether it's allowed under the village regulations or not. And I mentioned we have one case that's gone to circuit court over it. We'll see where that goes, but ultimately, this is an attempt to try and allow for a greater or better policing of those structures with the specific intention of not encouraging or allowing them on a permanent basis. So if the plan commission or the board feel otherwise, then we should talk about that. You know, do we want shipping containers and other temporary storage structures, the fabric covered hoop house type thing? That's maybe not what you typically see in an agricultural area, but a smaller one that somebody uses. They put it up next to their barn or their garage, and they've got a couple of cars in there
Or boat or whatever.
or something like that. Is that something that we should be allowing on a permanent basis and without limitation? Some would argue, yes. I think this village frankly has sort of given me all the indications that that's something that we don't necessarily want to see happen more and more and more.
So in this scenario of where there was a fourplex apartment going through different stages of construction and one of those shipping containers was put on the back, that would help to monitor that type of a use?
Is that not a that is the definition of a temporary
Temporary
use for the duration of construction?
One of the, what we find is that a lot of property owners, for example, there's one on Lilac Lane. Started off where the temporary use that was issued was for the shipping container so that they could keep construction equipment and materials related to constructing the house on that particular property. When the temporary use permit expired, the house had been constructed, and the direction was, you know, your permit has expired. We're not going to reissue another one. The shipping container needs to go. Well, the answer was, well, now we found another use for it. Now we want to keep our toys in it and our lawnmower and some other things in it. So we've got more space in the garage. Well, the intention is for that to be temporary and to, you know, serve its purpose and move on. And if you want or need more accessory building area for on a permanent basis, then this village would prefer you to build a building, add on to your garage.
Okay.
Again, that's my perception of what this community would prefer.
Mhm.
And if going through this process, if we need to talk, you know, more in detail and look deeper into our own psyche and decide whether we want to do something differently, then we should talk about it. Because the slippery slope of the shipping container usage and proliferation of it, for me, takes us down the path of them being used either with permits or just, you know, being installed on a weekend, being used for the tiny house, the visitor dwelling purpose kind of thing, the accessory dwelling unit on the 5-acre tract out in the countryside.
I have seen them as pool structures. We get the temporary blue round pools, and then they put one of those next to it, and that's the pool house. So where do I get, it's all temporary stuff that is now permanent.
Right, and I don't believe that it certainly doesn't get taxed as part of property tax. I don't think it's personal property, or if that was even taxed anymore. So it just sort of skates under the radar in terms of an improvement, quote unquote, to the property.
And it can be an eyesore to the neighbors.
Yes, and it can very well be.
Okay.
So when we talk about this, isn't this just in the M1 Limited Industrial District? The reason I ask you that is, I think I know about the instance you're talking about on Lilac. So how is the property zoned where this is sitting? I think I remember seeing it.
This one is zoned A2. It's a almost 20-acre property.
Yeah.
The front 4 acres, 3.5 acres are quote unquote buildable outside of the floodplain,
Right,
and outside
okay,
of
I
the
know that.
wetlands setback. The back part it drops off, it's wet, it's in the floodplain. And so it's not even a property that arguably could be used for an agricultural
Right.
use in a typical sense. If the village had a lowland conservancy zoning district like we used to have in the 70s, that property would be zoned that,
Okay.
not agricultural.
So this doesn't apply though, does it?
It does.
to-
It isn't just in the M1 limited industrial. This Fourth Amendment dealing with the temporary storage structures um, deals with all of the residential, single family, multifamily, and the agricultural districts.
So we're not dealing with an individual on a regular city lot like I am and my next door neighbor. To do some building, he needs to put his furniture in a pod, okay?
We are dealing with that.
There's a way to get a permit for that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
here?
this deals with that.
Okay, all right. My only concern with that is that he gets a 30-day, he or she gets a 30-day permit. That turns into a longer permit, then it becomes up to like, would you say 180 days?
Well, and that's
I
what
don't
this,
know as I'm objecting to that, but I just want to be clear that that's what it is.
that's what the amendment does, is it um, does away with the 30 and 90-day step 2-tiered permitting system for temporary structures, and it goes right to you can have it up to 180 days.
You have a motion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty sure I made the motion.
Further discussion on a motion to approve? No further discussion? This will go to village board.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Takes care of all items on tonight's agenda under new business, which then takes us to citizen input and public appearance. If there's anyone within our audience or joining us via WebEx who would like to participate in citizen and public appearance, you're welcome to do so at this time. If you're within our audience, please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. If you're joining us via WebEx, please make your intentions known so that you can be recognized. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward for citizen input or public appearance?
That was,
Speaker.
Scott Heffley, W159 and 10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. I won't need the 3 minutes. First of all, welcome to the new Plan Commission. Welcome, Bridget. I've only met her once. Frank Lloyd, I've met a couple times. He's with the school district. So I know President Walter, you said you were going to bring someone in from the schools. I think that's a good move. I think he's building the grounds, or he walks around the buildings and tells you what's wrong with them and stuff. So that's a good guy to bridge the gap with the Plan Commission. So thank you for making that happen. And then my only comment is I read in the newspaper, I've been out of town for a couple of weeks, but I read in the newspaper. Of course, this commission is charged with overseeing building that goes on, projects that go on. And I know that we bought some properties. I'm not going to comment on that at all, but I know we did it. As it was in the Express News, hey, that's where we get our information sometimes. And as a resident who, had some questions about what are we doing, what's going on with this, concerned about next gen housing. Should we have it? Should we not have it? And I guess the disclaimer is I'm on the Economic Development Commission. So I'm hoping any kind of plans or projects or anything we have coming forward, we'll go through that commission, not just Plan Commission. I know we've had joint meetings to that regard, but the Economic Development Commission can do a lot of work too, outside of being joint, because it's hard to get everybody together. So I'm hoping that continues. So I guess the only thing I'll put forward, or just maybe confusion, is for me, I'll speak for me. We have a lot of language in the 2050 plan in regard to next gen housing. So that is probably why the citizens are concerned about potential for next gen housing. We put it in our comprehensive plan. I don't know that we had to or was required to do, but it's in there. If it's in there and we're told this is the template we're using for land use or whatever we're doing, That's where the concerns are coming from. If we didn't have it in the plan, not just saying, if we didn't have it in the plan and something came forward for next gen housing, then we could deal with it at that time. So that's why you're getting the questions, I feel. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time for citizen input or public appearance? Or anyone joining us via WebEx that would like to speak? No? Okay, anyone else? All right, next item is announcements. The only announcement I would have is this weekend is the MyFest celebration starting on Friday. The tent, I believe, opens at 5 o'clock, and they have some regular polka bands in the beginning, but there is a main stage act that then comes in at 8 o'clock. Then again, on Saturday, the tent opens at 11. There is an opening ceremony with the Hank dancers are there. We also crown the MyFest queen and kind of officially open the festivities on that Saturday. Again, that runs until I think 11 or midnight, where they again have a main stage act. Normally polka bands and dancers up until about 8 o'clock, and then the main stage act starts at about 8. Then on Sunday, once again, it opens up at 11 o'clock, and I think it completes at 7 or 8 o'clock as well. So if you have some time over the weekend, please come and join us and enjoy one of the better German festivals that we have within our village. It's always a good time. There's always lots of people underneath the tent. If you don't know where it is, it's right here on Mequon Road, down kind of to the south of Life Church in the parking lot there. You can't miss the big white tent. You can't miss the music. So please come and enjoy yourselves and celebrate MyFest with the rest of the people in Germantown and surrounding communities. Any other announcements?
I have one.
Yes.
If you haven't heard, we have hired a new associate planner. Jordan Yankee will start at the end of this month
Okay.
and will likely be here for the June Plan Commission meeting.
Okay. And then as you notice, for those that are either involved with the Plan Commission or come to meetings or watch many meetings of the Plan Commission, you'll notice there's somebody not here tonight, and that is Lori Johnson. Lori has exercised her right to go to retirement, which her last day was last Wednesday or Friday, previous Friday the 10th. So we congratulate her on her her journey. We appreciate all the service that she did to this community, and not only that, to the planning department as well. She always did an excellent job and was very organized, and also a great help to this commission too. So she will be missed, but at the same time, we're also very happy for her to be able to start her retirement and go into the next phase of her life. I've kind of jokingly told her that now that she's retired, she can work at the recycling center like her husband does, but she wasn't going for that. So, but congratulations, Lori. You will be missed, and thank you for your service.
She was here for 30 years?
35 plus years, 35 years, 1 month and 15 days.
That's great.
And working for the Planning and Community Development Department, 18 years, 3 months and 13 days.
Well,
something like that.
that's a knowledge base that will probably be sorely missed, but again, appreciated for the service. Any other announcements? There's no other announcements. We can be adjourned. Thank you all for watching tonight. Thank you all for coming, and have a good night.